It's Conrad, the mortgage guy, and you're listening to Grilling JR with the voice of professional wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
I'm great, Connie. Great. How are you doing?
Man, better than I deserve. Excited to be here with you today. We've got a fun show lined up today. Going to talk about Bryan Danielson, jumping on commentary. We'll talk a little bit about Bryan's relationship with Vince. Of course, we got to hit the big return on AJ Lee. And there's lots more to talk about, including this week in wrestling history. So stay tuned for a fun episode today of Grilling JR. But let's start at the beginning, because last week was really the beginning of your college football season. You were back on the Oklahoma train, and they picked up a big win over Michigan. Tell us about it.
Oh, it was great experience. 87,000 plus in the stadium. It was amazing. Great. The atmosphere was just surreal. 87,000 in attendance, and hell of a game. My team won, thank God. Michigan's got a good team, and so it's a quality win for the Sooners.
How do you expect them to do this season? I know a lot of talking heads and experts, they assumed that Michigan would have the upper hand. That's not exactly how it shook out. What do you think the upside is? What is the ceiling, if there is one, for this Sooner team this year?
Well, it's hard to say. I think defensively we're going to be really good, and the defensive unit played well in all phases of their operation. So it's kind of hard to say. It's still early, but I had what a great time. Saw a lot of friends. Our suite was full of visitors and so forth. It was just fun as hell, and to get back in Oklahoma and see the team play and see that they played well. They had a good night, and it was a packed house, as we said, and I had a blast.
I saw some of your pictures that were posted. Your friend Mr. Marsh, who I think has the suite, was keeping us abreast of what's going on. Is your plan to make more Oklahoma games this year?
I'm going to try. Yeah, I'm going to try. That's the idea, but we'll see how it works out. They play on the road this week. I think they've had the next home game is maybe, who the hell is it? It's, I can't recall. Auburn, maybe? I'm not sure.
We need to jump into some of our topics today. I want to mention first, we've got a live studio audience from AdFreeShows.com. And if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button and go check out AdFreeShows.com. Jim, as folks are listening to this, last night you did a live Q&A with our great close personal friend Cassio Kidd. You were on Zoom. Fans got to interface with you and ask questions. It's been a while since we've done one of those, but I'm sure you're going to have a blast catching up with fans and taking their questions. That's sort of what you do when you make these appearances, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's fun interacting with the fans, hearing what's on their mind and all that stuff. So it's all good, man. Things are going in the right direction.
No doubt about it. And this week in particular was a super week at AdFreeShows.com. We're smack dab in the middle of it right now. On Sunday night, we had Tony Schiavone with us live. On Monday night, we had David Crockett with us live. On Tuesday night, we had John Layfield with us live. And last night, as you're listening to this, on Wednesday night, good old JR was live. But tonight, on Thursday, we got a double header, really a triple header. You're going to be able to see, and I can't believe this is real, Eric Bischoff, Jeff Jarrett, and Diamond Dallas Page back to back to back. Join us right now. We're overdosing on these live and interactive at AdFreeShows.com. Jim, let's talk a little bit about the big news this past week that was relating to commentary. It's been revealed that Bryan Danielson is going to be joining the Dynamite commentary team full time. Now, when folks are listening to this, they've probably just seen Dynamite last night. You and I are recording, in all transparency, on Wednesday morning. But the Dynamite crew for the last several months, or maybe years at this point, has been Taz, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone. I don't know if this makes it a 4-man booth, or do you have any insight as to what we can expect with Bryan Danielson being full-time as a commentator on Dynamite?
I'm looking forward to it. He's studious, student of the game, has a lot of knowledge. He's more than happy to share, which I think is great. So I like the addition of him. It gets some mileage out of a talent that has been kind of sequestered into I don't want to say oblivion, but Brian's a really smart guy, and I heard some of his work. I think he does a good job. So, but I haven't heard exactly where that whole concept is heading. I'm not sure. I have my gig. I do the two main events, the pay-per-views. I'll be in Toronto coming up in a few weeks. So it's all good, man. I like change. Change is good for us.
Let's talk a little bit about what Tony Khan had to say about this change. He says, as we were preparing for Forbidden Door, I thought Bryan would be fantastic on the commentary team for that show. Knowing the background he has, knowing his insights into pro wrestling and how prepared he is, and how much research he does on pro wrestling worldwide. Knowing the stars competing at Forbidden Door, coming from different promotions, stars from Mexico and Japan, and traveling from all over the world to compete at that show in London. Also, I think Bryan's a great star, and people want to see Bryan Danielson on television and hear Bryan Danielson on television. And thankfully, he's got very intelligent, insightful things to say when he does talk. So I really thought Bryan would be a great part of the commentary team, and he did a fantastic job on Forbidden Door. I talked to him maybe after his promotional tour of Australia was complete about Bryan joining us on Wednesday, and it worked out perfect. He'll be joining us tomorrow night on Wednesday Night Dynamite as a host, a commentator, providing his really, really valuable insights into pro wrestling. I think it's great anytime we're able to bring on Bryan Danielson to do anything in AEW, but especially to provide very, very intelligent, insightful commentary on pro wrestling. That's a great thing in AEW that we now have with Bryan Danielson as a host on Wednesday Night Dynamite starting tomorrow. This is kind of exciting, because it could be a new career. And we've seen a whole lot of folks make this transition. JBL has done it. Taz has done it. And if we look back even further, guys like Jesse the Body Ventura successfully did this. Gorilla Monsoon. What do you think of the characteristics that make a good commentator? I'm saying, what can you see in a wrestler that you think may translate? I ask because a guy like superstar Billy Graham, an incredible promo, but maybe not the best commentator. So how do you find that, Jim?
Well, you have to reprogram yourself to speak in sound bites. Preparation is a key. Study, being prepared. Just don't show up and put your headset on and get after it. So it's a necessary evil. You gotta keep your talent fresh. You got to make sure they're preparing. So I have utmost confidence in Bryan Danielson that he's going to do a tremendous job. He's smart. He's studious. He works as hard at getting ready for a broadcast as he did getting ready for matches, and he's well known for that. So I think it's good. I think it's good for our show and the brand, and exposing Bryan Danielson is a smart thing. It's good product placement, if you will. So Tony Khan's got a great vision for things like that. So I'm excited to see where it all heads.
Well, I'm excited to see what it looks like too. Again, you and I are recording on Wednesday morning. By now, everybody's had a chance to check it out. But I do think it's interesting that Bryan's performance so far has been unique to him. I know sometimes people try to pay homage, and there's certainly, you can hear the influence in their voice, like, oh, this guy's trying to be JR, or that guy's trying to be Tony Schiavone or whatever. It doesn't feel like Bryan is necessarily saying, hey, I want to do this like so-and-so. Do you think that that is a best practice? Like when you found yourself trying to make a voice in the pro wrestling landscape, did you find yourself trying to lean into Gordon Soley a little bit, or how did you pattern your early work?
I prepared my ass off. I worked harder than a lot of my peers, and that's kind of where I am on that subject. Bryan's going to do a great job because he's a preparation freak, and he's got great product knowledge. And so when you can add preparation and product knowledge together, you got a good chance of coming up with a fresh, new sound. And so he'll do great. He'll do great. I don't know what they're going to do with the that whole process, how it's all going to shake out. Where's Taz going to be? Where's is Excalibur going to stay in his spot? I don't know, but whatever they decide they're going to do, they'll do it well.
When you're talking about preparation, what goes into announcer prep? Like, are you just watching tape on the guys? Are you trying to learn about the moves? Is it necessary that you have a conversation with the promoter or with the individual performers? Where is the fine line on preparation? What was your best practice?
Gosh, I don't know, Conrad. It's hard to say. But preparation is crucial. It's no different than a wrestler getting in good shape, making sure their body's taken care of, they look good, they're emotionally invested into the process. So and Bryan will cover all those bases. He's just really studious. I know he prepares a lot. A lot of times you just have to rely on your instinct. Excuse me, and he's going to be really good. He's already really good. I got the hiccups.
It is going to be interesting to see, if this becomes a full-time gig for him. And I know that said, oh, he's full-time, but I do wonder, anytime you hear someone in wrestling say they're retired, but maybe not officially retired, like, I don't even know if that's a thing in wrestling. I don't think we've seen the last Bryan Danielson match ever, but I do get that he's wanting to not make that a regular part of his life. He doesn't want to be a full-time wrestler anymore. But I mean, a few years ago, I don't think any of us thought we'd see Nigel McGuinness doing his thing. And there he is.
He's very good too.
Oh, fantastic. If you were a betting man, when do you think we would see Bryan Danielson back in the ring again? Will it happen next year?
Oh, I don't have an idea. I don't have any idea. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen leading into our next major event because he's marketable.
Sure.
He'll add to the show. So good dude. He's a good dude, and I have a lot of respect for Bryan. I signed Bryan back in the day, and when he was Shawn Michaels' school. So I have a lot of respect for him and a lot of anticipation. He's going to be do super. I don't think we've seen his last match. I think he'll have something that's got a good build. He stays in great shape.
Yeah, he does.
And he's a student of the game, as I said. So we'll see how that works out. I'm anxious to see it evolve. Evolution is important in wrestling. Change is important. So we'll see how he fares going forward. I think he's going to do great. I just don't know what the mix is going to be. I don't know who's going to be where, when, and all that stuff. So we have a lot of announcers in the AEW. There's a lot of ways to go to skin the cat, shall we say.
I know that everybody has their personal preference, not that there's a right way or a wrong way, but we've seen, like back in the day, ECW just had Joey Styles. He was the sole commentator. We've also seen the 2-man booth like JR and the King. AEW has largely utilized a 3-man booth, occasionally 2. But we've even seen with guest commentators like Chris Jericho has had a stint before where there were like 4. I'm sure if you're playing traffic cop, so to speak, that gets more challenging. Is your preference a 2-man booth?
I've kind of lessened my stance on that over the years. I like the 2-man booth. It all depends on who the two are,
right?
And how they intermingle, how they interact, what their timing is. So I used to like a 2-man booth the best. Maybe I still do. I'm not sure. When Lawler and I were doing our thing, it was just automatic. It was smooth and it entertaining. And Lawler's got great knowledge of the product. So I like that. Those days seemingly have passed us by now. I don't know what. I heard a rumor, and I don't know if it's true, that he had not been feeling well. You heard that?
No.
I don't know if it's even accurate or just rumor, but I haven't talked to him. I just got back home late last night, so I haven't got a chance to catch up with him, but I will. And we've got some appearances coming up, and you can always count on an entertaining moment with us. We have a lot of fun on these appearances. Great photo ops. At our age, you don't know how many more of these you got in you. I know I don't have too many more of those UK trips, especially the way that travel worked out. I didn't anticipate going to Rome to get to London from the States. It was just too much. So anyway, it's still an adventure for me. It's still fun for me, and as long as it's that way, I'll continue to do my limited role and enjoy every moment of it.
And Jim, we thought, with the big news that Bryan Danielson is going to be putting on the cans and calling wrestling, we should announce JR's top 5 wrestlers who became commentators. I mean, this is a who's who list, Jim. I mean, you've got so many wrestlers who've done this in the past. Just off the top of my head, JBL, Jerry Lawler, Dusty Rhodes, Booker T, Taz, Gorilla Monsoon, Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, Wade Barrett, Corey Graves, Jesse Ventura, Bobby Heenan. A lot of people forget Bobby was a wrestler. Lord Alfred Hayes, Superstar Billy Graham, Larry Zbyszko, Steve Mongo McMichael, Stevie Ray. There's a lot of names that could make JR's top 5, but we had a chance to catch up with Jim, and we're going to run through your top 5 wrestlers turned announcers here on the program. We'll start right at number 1. Who, in your opinion, Jim, is the greatest wrestler to turn commentator in the history of pro wrestling?
I got to excuse me. I got to go with Jerry Lawler. We broadcast through some chaotic moments, some major moments, some epic moments. When he's on, he's the best. So Lawler will be number 1 on my list.
Probably no surprise. I mean, to this day, people still talk about JR and the King. Your most famous tag team partner comes in at number 1. Jerry the King Lawler, the greatest wrestler turned announcer in history. Number 2 on your list today, Mr. Ross, you had Gorilla Monsoon. I know a lot of our listeners only know Gorilla as the commentator, but boy, he had a heck of an in-ring career as well, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he was a star. Super heavyweight, moved around like a smaller guy, had great amateur skills, had great, just a great feel for the game, which helped him announce, no doubt about that. So I'd say Monsoon would be number 2, and that's kind of an easy decision for me.
Such an all-time classic voice. I think so many of us grew up on Gorilla Monsoon's voice. I've always been a fan of his work on the microphones, but I have to admit his in-ring time sort of predated my fandom. I think according to Cage Match, he had his last match in 1983. He only had 1 match in 83, 1 match in 82, and 1 match in 81. So he was really winding it down, but his in-ring career, I mean, that went back to like the late 50s or like 1960 or something, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. And he created lasting memories because he's a giant of a man before it was so not average, but before it was so normal. So Gorilla just special. He was a star. I think you put it that way. Gorilla Monsoon was a star, whether he was talking, wearing headsets, or in the ring. And I loved him. He was a godsend to me because I wasn't the most welcome dude in WWE when I first went there. And I even had heat because a lot of guys thought that I was pushing him out, and that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Him meaning Gorilla. So I have great respect for him, and he answered a lot of questions for me. He made me feel welcome. Just a wonderful man.
Another great man coming in at number 3 on your list of the all-time greatest wrestlers turned commentators. And one, again, I think a lot of our listeners probably primarily think about as a commentator, but man, he was wrestling from the early 60s. We're talking about the one and only Bobby the Brain Heenan. Why does Heenan come in at number 3 on your list, Jim? How does he make the cut?
Easy. He's good. He was great. He was funny. He could be serious, and when he was serious, it seemed to elevate the broadcast. So I was always a big fan of his work. He would sometimes lean on the comedic side, but when it's a serious angle and he needed to be serious, he could damn sure get it done.
That's what's fascinating too, is as we look at the list so far, Lawler at number 1, I mean, he certainly started as a heel commentator, but I don't think it necessarily stayed that way. It sort of evolved a little bit, but he became a personality unto his own. Gorilla Monsoon, of course, he was usually playing traffic cop and in the driver's seat. So he was the straight man. And I guess if we had to say, he was a babyface, but Heenan was the heel. When you're in the driver's seat, does it make your life easier with like a Jerry Lawler, who's going to become just a beloved figure, not necessarily a heel? Or do you like having a heel color commentator to bounce off of?
I like the heel. I like the heel commentator to bounce off of, but it's not essential being a heel or a babyface. Just be entertaining. Stay up with the storyline. Stay up with connect the dots. One of the greatest traits that a broadcaster can have is listening to their partner and then subsequently connecting the dots, as I've said. So, and Heenan was really good at that, but he liked to clown around a little bit sometimes. But I love working with him. He just was a joy to work with until he's, had some health issues and his neck was in bad shape, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I love working with Bobby, and Bobby could be a heel or a babyface and do it really, really well.
What's interesting is, of course, the reason we're covering this topic is Bryan Danielson, of course, is becoming a full-time announcer on Dynamite. And I wanted to look it up, and I think Jerry Lawler was around the same age that Bryan Danielson is now. So I think it's interesting that when Jerry Lawler joined the WWF, and of course he was immediately doing commentary, and of course I know he had that feud with Brett, but he was like 43 years old when that happened, when he made the jump to the WWF, and Bryan Danielson's 44 right now. So timeline wise, so much of our audience remembers Lawler, the announcer, more than Lawler, the wrestler. It'll be interesting with the benefit of hindsight 30 years from now. How will people feel about Danielson? Will they still talk about his wrestling, or will he become that Jerry Lawler type character that people remember most fondly as the announcer? That's interesting to me.
I can't think that he'll be compared to Lawler in that respect. Lawler's a comedian. Lawler's an entertainer, and a damn good one. But certainly, we'll see where the career of Bryan Danielson migrates to. But he's got the chops and the intellect to be really good. He'll never make you bust out laughing on a consistent basis. It's just not his style. Talking about Bryan. So we'll see. Time will tell. The fire may burn out on him. He may not like doing it on a regular basis or an ongoing basis. But there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be really good at it.
Well, a fellow who made that transition from wrestler to announcer in his mid 30s rather than his mid 40s comes in at number 4, Taz. You signed him from ECW over to WWE, and
all right,
a few years later, he decided, hey, maybe it's time to extend my longevity in the business. He put the cans on, and man, what a career he's had. He's actually been doing commentary longer than he wrestled now. Taz comes in at number 4. Why do you think he was so successful in that transition, and why does he come in at number 4?
He's a good storyteller. He's a good storyteller with a big personality. He's got experience. He's got credibility. Experience as a heel or a babyface. He's kind of become a babyface now. It seems to me like the longer you're around, the more closer you get to the hearts of the fans. So I think, but Taz is he's sometimes overlooked, which I don't think is very smart on anybody's account. And I like his work. He's analytical. He's sports oriented more often than not. The only time that he seemingly gets out of his lane is when he tries to be too funny. He's really good at being serious, and and down to earth. So he's developed and evolved into a hell of a broadcaster.
Coming in at number 5 on JR's list of greatest wrestlers who transitioned to commentary, it's a name that I'll admit I didn't expect from you because I didn't know how much of his in-ring work you saw. He's the voice of AEW Dynamite. Excalibur is number 5 on JR's list. I'm curious, Jim, have you seen much of Excalibur's in-ring work, or how does he land at number 5 for you?
Well, he's a better announcer, I think, in all due respect, a better announcer than he was a in-ring wrestler.
Okay.
But he's really, really smart. He's good at analyzing things and telling stories and connecting the dots, as we say. And so he does excellent work in that respect. So I just think he belongs. His wrestling career was mostly in the Indies, a lot of it in California. So a lot of his wrestling work has been kind of overlooked, but he's really good at analyzing things and all that. I enjoy working with him. I think he's a really good talent. The only thing it might be, he may be overexposed a little bit at times. He's rode hard and put up wet from time to time. So, but he's a hell of a good guy. He's reliable. He's easy to work with. Things that are important for broadcasters to be easy to work with, and he certainly is that.
Well, so are you, Jim. We greatly appreciate the comparisons today as we ran through JR's top 5 wrestlers who turned announcers. I can't wait to see the feedback on this. We want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments below, who are your top 5 wrestlers turned announcers? We'll highlight the YouTube comment of the week here next week. Well, I know you enjoy every moment with the Perfect Gene. I mean, let's be honest. You and I have both been rocking the Perfect Gene for a while. And way back when I saw this ad on Instagram for the Perfect Gene, and man, they were making some pretty extreme claims. The most comfortable jeans ever that fit your body perfectly. It stretches for days. Man, I figured that was nonsense, but my multi-year-old jeans had holes on them. I needed some new ones. I knew where I could get the jeans, the tees, the work pants. You know the drill. So I decided to check them out. I got them quickly. I threw them on, and holy cow, was I shocked. I'm in love with the Perfect Gene, and you will be too. These jeans are soft, they're stretchy, and they fit perfectly. The tees, they're like a revelation. You're going to look 5 years younger. You're going to feel 10 years better. Now here we are, a converted skeptic preaching on our pod about how to get themselves some perfect jeans, because they literally are perfect. No more sucking in your gut during the button and zipper battle. No more chafing, no more flat ass or otherwise unflattering fits. Listen, I'm a big dude. I'm usually hard to fit, but they've got waist that goes from 26 to 50 and lengths from 26 to 38. So I tried 2 sizes. One was perfect, and I could easily exchange the other one right on their site. The stretch makes the jeans forgiving and slightly enhance your assets. I'll have to see if they've got new colors. I got some extra attention at the house in these. Save yourself some money and some time shopping. For a limited time, our listeners can get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc, or just Google the Perfect Gene and use the code JR15 for 15% off. However you get there, be sure to use the code JR15 at checkout. You'll save 15% off site wide and stay perfect. Oh, and I can't forget to mention their perfect tees. We're talking buttery soft organic cotton, cut to make your arms and chest look chiseled, with just enough stretch to comfortably allow you to move from, I don't know, wrestling with the lady friend to dinner dates to spontaneous skydiving, everything in between. Serious business. They've even got den khakis over at the Perfect Gene. They've got polos when you're trying to class things up a little bit. Ultra breathable comfort shorts, serious thigh space whenever you're ready to dress down. Perfect Gene's always got free shipping, exchanges, and returns. Get the peace of mind knowing that your order is completely risk-free. It's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans and just go to theperfectgene.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges. All you got to do is use the code JR15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with the promo code JR15. Now, after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Fuck your khakis and get the perfect jeans.
Yeah, the khakis, damn them.
Damn them. Hey, let's talk a little bit about another piece of business that made some headlines. Or once again, talking about Bryan Danielson, but this time it was his interaction with Vince McMahon. Recently, Bryan has been abroad doing some promotional work for AEW's upcoming tour of Australia. And he was doing an interview where he was talking about the AEW debut. I want to give a shout out to wrestlingnews.co for their aggregation and transcription. This was an interview done with Nick Stave, I believe. And he was asked, what was the plan for him and Adam Cole to make their surprise debut? This goes back to All Out in 2021. If you'll recall, we saw Ruby Soho make her debut that day, and Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson all on the same show. And Danielson explained from his perspective that was far from a long-term plan, and he hadn't actually officially signed his contract until just a few days before the show. But when it came up how it ended with Vince McMahon, he gave the story. He said, I called Vince in early August because I was going back and forth, and I wanted to let him know I made my decision. I'm going to do this. He called me one time in the meantime and said, what if we offered you this instead? I hadn't signed my contract, but it was maybe 5 days before the pay-per-view, and he called me. I told him, sir, I already agreed to this thing. If I were to go back on this, I feel you have a decent amount of respect for me. One of the things you respect me for is that I honor my word. It was a great conversation. And he said, damn it, you're right. I think that's interesting to think that, it almost didn't happen, but Bryan was a man of his word and Vince respected that. I'm sure you had conversations like this when you were in talent relations. What can you tell us about when Vince would hear no, but it was for a principled reason? Did that strike him differently?
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit, Connie. It's, you gotta, your word is kind of your badge. It's your identification. It's important to keep your word and honor it. And if anybody in wrestling that I've been around ever is, just where your word is your bond, as they say. I know it's old school, but it's so important, especially in wrestling, because let's be honest about it. Wrestlers themselves have not always had that philosophy where their word is their bond, and it means more than one would maybe assume. So I'm a big believer of that, and like Bryan's one of those guys where if he says he's going to do something, or he says he's going to be someplace or do something, he does it, and that's not always the case in our crazy business. But he's the exception to the rule in that respect.
I think it's interesting when you take a look back at Vince's history. I think when Eddie Guerrero came back to the company in 2002, he honored all of his existing outstanding independent dates, and the company was still so high on him. He won the Intercontinental title fresh on his return to the WWE, but he was still working independent dates, and they allowed him to take the Intercontinental title with him. I know when we were doing Ric Flair's last match, they hired Jeff back as a vice president, and now he's technically going to be wrestling people who work for AEW. I mean, the night before that, he was a special guest referee at SummerSlam, and then he was able to work our event. So Vince has always been big on honoring your word and honoring your commitments. And there's a story out there, Jim, that I've never asked you about, and I want to ask you about here. The story is that Brian Lee would lose his fake Undertaker run in the WWF because allegedly he told Vince that he could leave Smoky Mountain Wrestling at the drop of a hat without notice whenever he wanted. And as the story goes, Vince felt like that was a case of, if you do that to someone else, why wouldn't I assume you do that to me?
Exactly.
And that was the end. Is that the way you remember that going down?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Vince is big on old school values, believe it or not. He's very, he can be unique in that respect. I still admire him for it, quite frankly. it's a good thing that he kept those traits and maintained them. So it's been good. Working for Vince was never a drudgery. It could be challenging because he's a perfectionist and he wants things to be right in his eyes. And he's got a right to do that because he's writing the checks and he's the owner. So I've always enjoyed that aspect of working with Vince. If he says he's going to do something, he does it, and I've always appreciated that. Quite frankly, as a performer, as an administrator, it's just it's a necessary evil if you want to say it that way. But he's his word is his bond, and it's always been that way. Sometimes you don't want to hear it. Sometimes it doesn't fit your schedule or your concepts or what have you, but he's a man of his word, and I think that's just great.
I do want to ask, was this, in your opinion, based on Vince's mood? Because this wasn't always the case. I mean, I think if we go back to 1984, and I realize that's a long, long time ago, you were on the other side of this. I think you were working with Mid-South when Junkyard Dog jumped and seemingly gave no notice. Was that just young Vince trying to take over the world, but once he was established, or was it different situationally or based on his mood? What can you tell us about that?
Well, mood has a lot to do with it, but his gut instincts is really what drives him. And so he's, like I said, we're wearing it out, but bottom line is that you just can't go wrong if you have a word that means something and you maintain it. So I think that this is a really key facet of Vince McMahon's personality, is that he kept his word. He was just you could depend on him for that, for sure. It may not be what you want to hear, but it's what it is. And I'd rather have it that way as to have surprises or him go back on his word. It's just he just is old school in that respect, and I admire that.
When you were running talent relations, did you have a best practice? Let's say you were negotiating with someone and you wanted them to come in, but they did have other advertised dates. Was it an edict from Vince that they always finish, or is that something that you would say, "Hey, Vince, make a call"?
No, basically, I wanted to make sure that the talent honored their word and honored their commitments, because, like you said, if you'll do something negative, uh, it bleeds over. It's a holdover, and it's just it's something that you got to deal with. I always wanted talents to maintain and their bookings. Like I said, that they're gonna, if you're gonna do that if you're gonna go back on your word for somebody else, you'll certainly go back on your word on this deal. So I never did like that. I like talents to maintain their commitments, because you get in the habit of doing that, it just becomes habitual. If that makes any sense. It's important to have your word be your bond. And so, for the most part, when you get a talent that's coming in and you can have a, oh shoot, uh, you know that those commitments, you can rely on them. You always want to know what kind of a word your talent that you're hiring have, and are they going to be as straightforward and honest up front to you now as they are trying to come in and make a name for themselves. So I'm a big fan of maintaining your commitments. I think that's just imperative. It's important. You can't get around it. And if you get somebody that's that way, like Bryan Danielson, for example, he's going to keep his word. He's going to keep his commitments, and those are important assets to have as a talent.
Well, we know that Danielson did not return to WWE, but over the weekend, AJ Lee did. This past Friday night, she returned on SmackDown. Maybe one of the worst kept secrets in wrestling, but it got a lot of commentary all over social media, including our YouTube channel. JR and I have a free YouTube for you at grillingjr.com. And we've actually got our YouTube comment of the week. Jim, this comes to us from at @themark388, who says, I was there for her return Friday night and the pop was incredible. We all knew it would happen, but damn, it was special. WWE always pulls out the stops when they come to Chicago. They were at the former Allstate Arena. I don't know what it's called now, but it used to be called the Rosemont Horizon. I mean, it's one of the more famous buildings in wrestling history. I think Stone Cold Steve Austin has been on record as saying it was his favorite. He didn't like playing the outdoor stadiums or domes. He felt like the sound could just escape. But the acoustics in that building, with it being a wooden ceiling, the sound just bounces all over the place. It certainly added a lot to his WrestleMania 13 match with Bret Hart. Where do you rank that building as far as the acoustics and the environment and just the crowd? Is it top 5, top 10? Where would it land on your list?
Well, it's top 5 in my list. Some of my best work has been in that venue. So it's a great place to perform, great place to ply your trade. No doubt about that.
Let's also talk a little bit about AJ's return. Did you get to know AJ at all in WWE? I know you guys were only there together for a little while.
Yeah. She's a unique person, and she's kind of quiet, a little bit reserved, but she's a great student of the game, and I'm glad that she's back. I didn't see it. I was out with my friends going to our annual pre-OU dinner at this Italian place there in Norman. So I didn't see her return, but I read about it, and it seemed like it was very well received. She's a very talented young woman, no doubt about that, and she's still a young woman.
I do want to ask, about the reaction. I mean, she got a superstar reaction, but I'm curious how many of these fans are longtime fans and they're just getting a superstar reaction because they know, respectfully, that she was a wrestler and this is CM Punk's wife and we're getting to maybe a mixed tag situation. There's a lot to be excited about, but I guess what I'm driving at is she was gone for 10 years. And I'm wondering, when you look back over your wrestling career, how many times or how often do you think the audience sort of turns over? I don't mean to assume that there aren't any fans that are watching now that were watching 10 years ago. I'm sure a large portion were, but turnover with a wrestling audience, is that, because we've always heard the term, hey, the wrestling business is cyclical. Well, that means fans come and go. Right. Is that life cycle 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? Do you have a best practice on that for how often it turns over?
Not really, Conrad. It just depends on the situation. And, like in AJ Lee's case, she's still in great shape, which I think is very admirable for somebody that's not been on the road or been in the ring or what have you. She was prepared, and I have a lot of respect for her for what she's doing. It's just good stuff.
It is exciting that she's back. I'm excited that, fans get to see her return. I know my daughter is a huge AJ Lee fan. She was on cloud 9 with her return, but I do know that turnover is a real thing. And I think it's probably happened even with AEW. I mean, AEW is only 6 months old or 6 years old now at this point, but it does feel like you've probably had some fans who weren't watching 6 years ago who've joined, and maybe some fans who were watching back then and maybe they've moved on from wrestling. Like, I know I can speak from my experience. I felt like I sort of grew out of it. I was a fan as a little kid and then quit watching and then got back as a teenager and then quit watching again. And I just feel like a lot of fans are like that. Like sometimes they're more passionate about baseball or basketball or any of those other things that we can all share fandom in. But I've never heard anybody put a number on it despite all these years. We all say, oh, it's cyclical, but how many years does that really mean? Do you think that there's been turnover with the AEW fan base? Is 6 years enough time?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. It's a long time, actually. And you just got to keep giving the fans things that are fresh and new. You got to build your stars. You got to give people a chance to grow into their superstar role. And it won't take long for AJ to be back in that superstar level, in my view, she's a great asset. And her being married to CM Punk doesn't hurt her. It's a good rub, shall we say. So I'm glad she's back. I'm glad she's back. She's good for the fans. And so, more power to her.
No doubt about that. More power to her. I do want to ask one more thing about AJ's return. What we're going to see here is essentially a heel couple and a babyface couple. We know that Becky and Seth are going to be the heel side of that equation, and Punk and AJ are going to be the babyface answer. Once upon a time, way back when in the territory days, that almost felt like a no-no. Like, I think I've heard that if you had a handsome, good looking, popular with the ladies baby face, the last thing you wanted to do was acknowledge that he was married or him wear a wedding ring or any of that sort of stuff. When do you remember that changing, or has it changed?
It's changed to some degree. I don't know. I can't put a date on it or an era, but it's been somewhat recently. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool for her, and obviously she's made a commitment to get herself in great shape. She's got a wonderful personality. She's got a great mind to pick his brain and talking about her husband. He's a real student of the game. Probably going to be a great booker someday. So I think it's a move for the best. As we say here on the show, high tide raises all ships, and that was a nice moment for WWE. Nice moment, and I'm glad that it's working out for everybody. Like I said, I didn't get to see it live. I wish I had have, but I was out with friends and in our, it's been a long time since I've been in Oklahoma, and I had these commitments with my buddies and their spouses and so forth. So it's a good deal. It's a good scenario. You just wonder where the next big surprise like that is going to come from.
Well, I, for one, am excited that AJ Lee is back. Can't wait to see what they do next. I think Seth and Becky have been on an incredible run. I can't get enough of this Seth and Punk feud. And I know that fans online have been a little frustrated with it at times, but as Bruce would say, adding the ladies into the equation adds a fresh paint of coat, I think he would call it. Bruce always screws that up, but something you'll never screw up is BlueChew. Guys, now you can enter the room dick first. BlueChew is not just a tablet. Think of it as like a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership. BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. Add some mass to the main mast. Guys, we're not just talking about performance. We're talking about your legacy or your third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. When you lay it down, they're talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little BlueChew. Discover your options right now at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of BlueChew free. Just use the promo code JR at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join BlueChew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to BlueChew.com for details and important safety information. And a big thanks to BlueChew for sponsoring today's podcast. All right, Jim, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about as we're covering some of the news and notes in wrestling this past week is about Chris Jericho. He has found a way to keep himself in the headlines, and I'm proud for him for that. He's constantly reinventing himself, and he was recently on the red carpet for Hollywood Horror Nights. And obviously that's something that is right up his alley. We know he's appeared in Terrifier and other horror movies, but he was asked about AEW, and he had a great quote, I think, that everybody should wrap their head around. He said, the best thing that can happen to wrestling is AEW. And the fact that there are two huge promotions that you can choose from just makes it better for the guys, makes it better for the fans and everybody in between. I'm not going anywhere for a long while. I'm still with AEW for right now. Would I go back to WWE? I wouldn't be opposed to it. We just have to see what happens. The best thing that can happen is to have two great teams you can play for, and that just makes everything bigger and more exciting. I mean, I agree with this. I think every wrestling fan should agree with this. The business is better when there are two major promotions. It creates more jobs. It creates competition. people step their game up when they're looking over their shoulder, and it also allows the guys to get paid more. I mean, one of the things that's not lost on me is if AEW weren't around, WWE and WWE alone dictates the pay scale. But as long as there's competition out there, guys are getting paid more money right now than ever before. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Big money. I've heard some of the salaries that guys are getting paid. It's incredible, and good for them. Good for the business. Good for the boys and the girls. When we say the boys, we mean everybody. That not suit some of the female fans or talents real well, but it's a hell of a thing. It's a great thing. It affects the monies, and your career lifespan is relatively short. Injuries and trends and motivational things that keep your game sharp. So I'm a big fan of more than one place to go be able to work and earn a living. It just makes all the sense in the world. So AEW is one of the greatest gifts that pro wrestling has had in years, because it gives everybody a chance to work and get that wage scale up. Because like I said, it didn't last forever. You can get hot and stay. If you're really good, you can stay hot for a while, but if not, you just got to keep scrapping away and making a name for yourself and with your body of work. So I love the fact that AEW is in the game, and we're in a position to where we're probably more popular and more viable than anybody ever envisioned when Tony Khan created the brand.
I do want to ask you, when we're taking a look at Chris Jericho in particular, I mean, he has reinvented himself over and over and over, not just in WWE, but even in AEW. And I see this interview and I can't help but wonder, he's crazy like a fox in a good way. I want to give a shout out to Art Gonzalez. He's been a Top Guy AdFreeShows member for more than 5 years. He joined us on April Fool's Day 2020. Shout out to Art for hanging in there with us so long at AFS. Hey, the thing I was asking specifically about Jericho, though, is I think the internet has decided, oh, he's going back to WWE. Oh, he's going to be in the Rumble. And the more they're talking about that, I don't know what his contract is or isn't, it does feel like he's just keeping his name out there, creating more leverage. He's smart. But also, too, it could be a false flag operation. If everyone expects him to show up in WWE again, if and when he pops back up in AEW, he's going to get a thunderous ovation. A hero's welcome, won't he?
Oh God, yeah. He's got a great following. He's always treated his fans respectfully. His quality of work maintains itself. People want to see more of him. He's smart as a whip, and he's a real businessman. So I hope, I said this before, I hope that he doesn't leave AEW. We need him. We can use his skill set, his leadership. I see him countless times having some kid in the corner and talking about their character or their presentation. He's got time for everybody, and he's smart as hell. He's a student of the game in the true sense of the word, and we provide lip service for a lot of that stuff, but it's legit. It's real with him. He's a born coach, shall we say.
You and I know that he helps a lot of people behind the scenes and has continued to do that since day one with AEW. But it does feel like there's a contingent of fans online who've decided that, oh, working with Chris Jericho is the kiss of death and nobody gets over. And the people who work with him, by the way, they never say that. But it does feel like, I don't know, the worm has turned with some smart fans on Chris Jericho. Do you think that's just the presentation? Because if we're honest with you, those same fans, it felt like they had turned against Cody when he was in his dying days of AEW before he jumped ship to WWE. And now he's beloved there. Is that just reframing him, Or is this just the old territory moniker of, hey, sometimes it's time to go learn a new hold, as you would say. You go to a new territory and then you're perceived differently. Is that all it is, or is there more to it than that?
I think that's covers the basis pretty much. I really do, Connie. I think it's just a fait accompli, reinventing, sprucing up your act, shall we say? It's the way of the world, and Jericho has this innate ability to reinvent himself. Little tweaks here, little tweaks there, but he can deliver. He can deliver in the ring. He can deliver on the mic. He's great. He has great name identity. So I'm a solid supporter of Chris Jericho. You know, I hired Chris Jericho back in the day, and we brought him out to, I think it might have been Chicago, and he's never failed to deliver ever. So and he came in and he just did a hell of a job.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what's next for Chris Jericho. I, for one, am not convinced that he is in fact leaving AEW. I still think he's got time on his deal. It wouldn't surprise me if he showed up, at the ECW arena before it's all said and done. I think that's what's fun about wrestling right now is we don't know, like, hey, AJ Lee just came back. Hey, what if Chris Jericho jumps? What if he stays? What if he pops up and challenges so-and-so? The what ifs in wrestling and keeping fans guessing, that's what keeps us tuning back in, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Fresh. Wrestling fans love new, what's perceived as new, what's fresh, and he can come back seamlessly, and in a matter of one TV show, he's back in his element.
I wanted to talk about another AEW talent that I know you're really fond of and high on. He recently returned. Wardlow finds himself in the headlines again. On Monday, Fightful Select, with a little tag team action from Sports Illustrated, reported that after returning at Forbidden Door, after a year plus of injury recovery and then American Gladiators filming commitments, Wardlow seemingly is already back on the shelf in what is suspected to be a torn pectoral muscle. In the Fightful report, Sean Ross Sapp says it was suggested that the injury actually took place upon his return angle, but that isn't confirmed. Now, this is challenging because I know you've been high on Wardlow, but it does feel like at times, man, if it wasn't for bad luck, he'd have no luck at all.
Yeah, I'm still high on him. He's got to get past the injury bug, and big, thick guys like that have issues, especially with their upper body, shoulders, biceps, triceps, that type of stuff. So he's got to get past that somehow. I don't have a magic formula for that. He just needs a better luck. And but he's a great kid. He's a big time player in my view. Athletic, big man, draw money. Thanks to the Cowboy. They just do.
I wanted to ask you about, being saddled with a title like injury prone. I'm not saying Wardlow is that. I'm not suggesting that, but I know a lot of fans would categorize someone like Ahmed Johnson back in the day. They'd say, oh, he was injury prone. Was that ever WWE? I mean, is that WWE dialogue? Did they say things like that? Do you remember Vince ever using the phrase injury prone, or is that just something fans say?
No, Vince has said that. Vince has said that. You just got to call a spade in that respect. He's you just got to get past those things, and that's hard to do, especially when you're so heavily muscled as Wardlow is. You're going to get those upper body injuries from time to time, and you just got to get past them somehow. I don't have the answer for that. Do more stretches, or do more of this in the gym, or drop some weight, drop some size. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that he's a player, and he's worth being patient and getting him healthy, because he'll draw money.
I think everybody is a fan of Wardlow and is pulling for him and thinks he's going to draw money, but I wonder what we can do to make sure this doesn't happen in the future. And I can't help but wonder how much of this is just the schedule. once upon a time you had, I don't know, 4 or 5 matches a week. And that's just not the case in 2025. And it does feel like, if all of a sudden your body is moving in ways it's not used to moving, maybe it's prone to this sort of thing. Do you think that the lack of reps is part of the reason that we've seen this rash of injury bug?
I think so. I think so. It's you got to curtail your activity, stretch more, uh, things of that nature that would help you uh, lessen the load. But I'm a big fan of his. He's just a good kid, good-hearted, uh, a good dude. So and AEW needs him to get over and to be a star and to be a player. And let's just hope he gets there.
Let's talk about another talent that we know is going to get there. I'm talking about Josh Alexander. He recently explained why he picked AEW over WWE. But before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends at Legal Buddy. You see, life happens fast. One minute you're driving home from work, and the next you see flashing lights in your rearview mirror. Your heart skips, your hands tighten on the wheel, and you start asking yourself, what do I do now? That's when you need someone on your side. And with the Legal Buddy app, you can connect with a local attorney in seconds, not hours, not days, but right when you need the help. Whether it's a DWI, a car accident, a criminal charge, or even just a traffic ticket, the Legal Buddy app puts real legal support right in your pocket. Imagine having an attorney on call, ready to guide you through some of life's most stressful moments. This isn't a call center. This isn't a waiting game. It's direct access to a lawyer who understands your situation and your community and who can step in right away. Think about it. When trouble knocks, do you want to face it alone? Or would you rather have the confidence of knowing a professional is already on your side? That's the peace of mind Legal Buddy gives you. And here's how easy it is. Just download the Legal Buddy app at legalbuddyapp.com. Register today. Use the referral code LEGAL for your chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen, tickets happen, mistakes happen. But when they do, you don't have to go through it alone. The Legal Buddy app, always on your side. Download the app today and enter the code LEGAL. So Josh Alexander was easily one of the brightest stars in TNA, former world champion, incredible run, a great stretch of fantastic matches. A lot of people think he was Scott D'Amore's top star during D'Amore's run in TNA. And he was recently interviewed with Justin Barrasso. He's got a fabulous product out there called The Undisputed. We're big Justin fans over here. And he says, if you believe what you read online, I just went with the highest bidder. The truth is, the money, schedule, and things like that didn't play into my decision as much as looking at the pool of talent I wanted to work with. There's a specific reason I signed where I did. I chose AEW because I want to be here. I didn't grow up dreaming of wrestling at WrestleMania. I've worked with so many people in AEW that are now in high profile positions, and I met Tony during the COVID days. I vibed with him, and I think he's a really good human being. He's someone that actually cares about his talent and treats them like human beings. We know specifically that Josh would like to work with Kenny Omega. I mean, that is a big dream match for him and a lot of
Who wouldn't? Who
Sure.
wouldn't if you're a wrestler? Omega's still as good as anybody in the world, Conrad. I'm amazed that he can maintain his level of quality. That's good, and he's right about Tony. Tony gives a shit about the talent, and he's just a great manager, a great owner. So you can go to Tony with any question, and you'll get an answer. And I admired that about Tony Khan, and I'm glad I'm working for him. He's the best. He's as good a boss as I've ever had because he listens and he cares. And that sounds simple, but it's not always that way.
I do want to ask you, he mentioned the WrestleMania moment. Do you remember that being a big part of your recruiting dialogue at any point? Did you talk about WrestleMania moments with young talent you were trying to sign?
Sure, absolutely. If you're a fan of the business, which you hope that you're hiring is a fan of the business, WrestleMania moments come up in the conversation. If you're a real fan, you want to work WrestleMania at some point in your career. And I think that that's not a surprise. That's just the way that it is. If you're recruiting and trying to sign a true fan of the game, and I think that's really important.
It is interesting because I know, that's changing now, but once upon a time, I feel like almost everybody who was getting into the business had to aspire to be on the biggest show in the biggest matches for the most money. And that was almost always WWE. Now there was a few years where it was WCW, but certainly AEW and their style of wrestling is different than what WWE presents. And it makes sense to me that a guy like Josh Alexander would value that. What do you think Josh's ceiling is in AEW? I'm a Josh fan, so I'm curious to see what you think.
I think he's got lots of upside. I really do. I think he's got a lot of upside, and he's a hard worker. He looks good. Hopefully he's not going to get in that same situation with like Wardlow, where he's heavily muscled. And you start pulling things and tearing things of that nature. I'm glad that we got him. I think he's going to be a real asset to AEW over the long haul.
We saw in the interview or in the quote, Josh said that he kind of vibed with Tony. What type of wrestlers do you think are Tony's cup of tea? Like when he says I vibed with Tony, I'm sure a lot of young wrestlers who are trying to figure out, how do I get on Tony's radar? Who do you think Tony kind of vibes with? What type of wrestler? Is that a fair question?
Guys that are not high maintenance, talents that are business oriented, goal oriented, putting the team first as opposed to themselves, and not being a pain in the ass, not being a high maintenance guy. He's just Tony's a simple manager. It's easy to follow his trail and his instincts. That's a simple process. If you're going to come in and work for AEW, you got to get along with Tony. I mean, that's just logical, common sense. So he's got those attributes, and that makes him a good manager, a real good manager.
Well, I can't wait to see what's next for Josh Alexander in AEW. I know right now he's a part of the Don Callis family, but I do think eventually Josh Alexander is going to be a babyface. I know he's going to have incredible matches. That's kind of a given. When you think about Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland, these are three guys that are no doubt tippy top of the mountaintop in AEW, and they're all seemingly injured to where they're going to miss this pay-per-view next weekend. But what I'm really excited about is those injuries create opportunities for guys like Josh Alexander and others who've had all the talent in the world, but now they are going to have an opportunity to show it. Right, Jim?
Yeah, I think so. Timing is good for those guys. You come in and make your own breaks with your performance and your how you respond to the locker room, how you respond to the rules and regulations, if you will, of the company itself. So I'm a big believer that you got to fit into the team. You got to contribute in the locker room, and you got to be willing to bust your ass every time you go out there and take advantage of those opportunities.
Well, it's going to be a fun opportunity. I can't wait to see what happens with Josh Alexander, and I'm pumped for All Out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about this week in wrestling history. I can't believe this is real. But 30 years ago is when things really came to a head with Jesse Ventura and WWE and the old royalties issue. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I want to brag about somebody saving money. I'm talking about my man, Bo. He's a machine operator here in Alabama. He had 4 vehicles give him some trouble at the same time. As you can imagine, that brings on a whole boatload of unplanned expenses. Rather than go saddle up for new debt, he went to savewithconrad.com. We were able to go ahead and get him a plan of how he could get out of debt faster and with cheaper monthly payments. We showed him how to knock out some of that debt. We showed him how to get those vehicles squared away. We even showed him how to save money on his homeowner's insurance. Yeah, he's saving money left and right. And it all started at savewithconrad.com. He let my team run the numbers for him, and he found out how much money you can save, and you can do it right now for free. When life throws you a curveball, don't panic. You just need to know somebody. And you know me, go right now to savewithconrad.com. There's no cost, no obligation. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. But my strategy has always been, hey, if you owe this money, it's up to you how you pay it back. Why not pay it back at the greatest possible tax deduction, at the lowest possible interest rate, and at the most affordable monthly payment? If you can save money each and every month, why wouldn't you? Keep more of your own money at savewithconrad.com and get yourself a year 3 guarantee. That's right. If interest rates improve over the next 3 years, and all the experts seem to agree that's coming, we don't want you to miss out. We want to be your mortgage advisor for life. So get the best deal for you and your family right now today and stop wasting money immediately. And if things improve over the next 3 years, dude, we'll hook you up without charging you a new set of lender fees. So you'll lock in a better rate at that time, take your payments even lower, and perhaps even access the newfound equity to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket. You got nothing to lose right now at savewithconrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender, savewithconrad.com. Jim,
The key thing you have there, Conrad, we've said it here on the show a lot, you have a plan.
Yes.
You're not rudderless. You have a plan, and we all need better plans. I speak from experience. It's just a smart way of doing business. Conrad's people are knowledgeable. They're fair. They're honest. So it's a good situation.
I appreciate you saying that, Jim. You personally know a lot of people that I've been able to help, and I appreciate you echoing what a lot of thousands of people already know. By the way, if you'd like to check out our reviews, go see for yourself, conradreviews.com. It forwards you to a third-party site. Everybody who closes a loan with us gets the opportunity to review us, the good, the bad, the ugly. You'll find we've got thousands of 5-star reviews at savewithconrad.com. So 30 years ago, Jim, this week is when the Jesse Ventura thing finally came to a head. Just to make everyone familiar, Jesse sued Vince McMahon saying he was owed royalties because his voice was used on all of the Coliseum home video releases and he was not paid for those. So this obviously was a major issue with Vince. We know behind the scenes, Jesse had also been an advocate of starting a union for the wrestlers. And Vince actually lost to a jury in the spring of 94. But on September 11th, 1995, a federal appellate panel cemented Jesse's victory. So even when he lost in court, Vince appealed, and at the federal level, Vince was proven incorrect and he had to pay up Jesse. This is a pretty famous negotiation and situation. And I wanted to ask you, like when you first come in for things like WrestleMania 9 and King of the Ring 93, those would be early in your WWF tenure. They did have VHS releases. Were you paid royalties for those or no?
Don't think so. I wish I would have. New money's good. But I don't think so. I don't think I was paid royalties for that. Now things got cleared up and the system got a lot more streamlined and a lot more manageable. But I don't think in the beginning I was paid that. I was just happy to have a job. I was happy to be working with WWE. They were the big dog at that time, still are for that matter. But I don't think I was. But it's changed a lot now. Now things are a lot better and different and fair. That's all you ever look for is just for it to be fair and to be totally transparent. WWE didn't have a great plan to take care of their talent. They do now, and it's working out well for a lot of talents. They're making big money off that mailbox money, as we like to say.
Sure.
There's nothing better than mailbox money, folks. I can tell you that right now. So it's travel friendly and bump friendly and all those friendly things. So but it's proved the situation has improved immensely over the years, which is a credit to WWE. And I think AEW's followed that path of fairness. I have never had an issue of my pay or my royalties or anything along those lines in AEW. It's just always been fair, and Tony is talent friendly. Talent as he could be, friendly as hell. So it's all good.
Hey, I do want to ask you, how were the royalties handled in WWE as best you can recall? Like, I know that you're going to step into that talent relations role in 1996. Are you involved in royalty payouts, or how did that work way back?
There was a formula, and they just did the math. And if you were productive and you hit on some things product wise or what have you, then you're in business. But I, I like the system as it is now for both companies. Talents, I don't hear them bitching about their pay very often because so many of them are making more money than they ever dreamed they were going to make.
Right.
Some of these ancillary, is that a word?
Yeah. Ancillary. Yeah. You got it.
Ancillary sources of cash and income.
I think these days, and I could be wrong. I mean, hell, I've never seen an AEW or even a WWE contract, but I think it's all inclusive now, right? It's here's your rate, and you get it every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever it is, and it's all sort of factored in. But you've told us before there were formulas on how you would pay off house shows and things like that. Do you recall what the royalty formula was at any point in WWE?
It was negotiable. Some guys made a little bit more if they deserved it than others. So it take a case by case situation. You just don't rubber stamp. You get this, and then you all get the same, because everybody doesn't deserve the same. They just don't. Some guys contribute to the bottom line of the company more than others, and they should be paid accordingly.
How would announcer royalties be handled, or were they ever a thing? Did you ever get a royalty at any point in WWE for your work?
Yeah, I sure did. Yeah, and I appreciated it. It was good. So, anytime you can create new money for a talent, a performer, what have you, it's a good thing. And no matter the amount, it's just still new money, and you hope that from that new money comes more new money, and over time, cumulatively, it will end up meaning something.
I know you weren't with WWE a terribly long time once the network started, but in 2014, WWE rolled out the WWE network, and that meant they were sort of doing away with pay-per-view payoffs. And for years and years, that was what a lot of the talent lived and died by. And of course, we know the pay scale has just gotten out of control in a positive way, in a good, I'm not saying they're overpaid. I'm saying I think it's wonderful, the changes that have happened, but it is night and day from 11 years ago. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you think anybody ever got royalties for like the content library? Because I don't think I've heard of that. Did you ever get royalties for them using your old work on the WWE network? Like today, some of your stuff is still, a lot of your stuff is still on Peacock. Most of your stuff is still on Peacock. Do you receive royalties even now for that stuff?
No, I do not.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, sue them?
No, of course not.
Get us a good lawyer and sue them and cause a calamity. I've always believed that every company I've worked for, I've gotten smarter in how I negotiate.
Right.
And Barry Bloom has educated me, and my agent educated me a lot in that area. You're always looking for ways to scrounge new money, create new money, take advantage of new money, because, like, you don't know how long something's going to last.
Right.
So but I think the fairness all the way around in all this major AEW and the WWE, I think they created ways that you can make extra cash and be able to accumulate more funds, which is that's motivational. It's motivational, and I think the talents appreciate the new cash, and they work harder to earn more of it. So it's a pretty cool deal.
It's another reason that I'm glad that AEW exists. I mean, because if AEW didn't exist and those royalties weren't a thing, because you assume that those contracts can change, and obviously WWE is going to honor those contracts. But if they said, "Hey, we're not paying you on the royalties for the content library, and we own it, and we can use it in perpetuity," and you sign it, and there's no other alternative, it kind of is what it is. And I know a lot of wrestling fans who've decided that I don't like AEW. Okay, I get it, but there's a lot of great other benefits for the people in this industry that you love because they exist. And I guess that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about is with regard to the royalties and what's happening or not happening. Do you think that that will continue to be an issue in wrestling? I say
As
that
long as
because
there's two brands, Conrad, it creates competition.
yes,
And so there's no getting around that. So it's just a matter of what kind of plan the companies have to compensate their talent. I'm not on the inside of any of that stuff, luckily for me, but I think the bottom line is to be fair. Be fair. Everybody should get a slice of the pie that they're making, and enjoy the taste of a new pie.
I really wanted to circle back to Jesse Ventura. Like this was an issue for a long, long time, and I know that you're with the company. I guess you're still playing a little hokey pokey in 94, 95, but you're still there. Um, it felt like once upon a time he could have been public enemy number one of Vince McMahon between the pushing for the union piece and then this royalty lawsuit. We know that he's going to soften his stance when Vince books him to have the governor at that point come in for SummerSlam a few years later. What can you tell us about the way Vince really felt about Jesse Ventura way back when?
Well, there was animosity there, Conrad. Obviously,
Sure.
you got a guy coming with his hand open and looking to take some of your money that you had not planned on paying. But I think at the end of the day, it was handled fairly, and Jesse got new money. We use that term a lot here, new money. So I'm a big believer in paying people all that they've earned, and these royalties and things like that are ways to earn new money, and that's a key element in business in general, especially in the entertainment business where a lot of your work is preserved via a royalty. You're getting paid, so it's interesting. It alienated the two guys.
Yep.
And Vince wasn't used to being challenged.
Right.
Ventura had the balls to challenge it and so forth. So I think it was all for the good, quite frankly.
I know it had to put you in probably a weird spot because I know you pride yourself on being a company guy and you really valued your relationship with Vince. And obviously you wanted to continue to grow your career with the WWF and Vince, and that all makes sense. But on the other hand, part of you had to be low key pulling for Jesse because if
Um,
Jesse's able to win more money because of this royalty thing from being an announcer, you might too, right?
well, they remodeled the contracts due to the lawsuit with Jesse. But I was, at that time, all that subsided and passed. But I was never a big fan of Jesse's because of the way he positioned himself and carried himself. Very talented, hell of a talent, no doubt about that. But his personality could become a little grating at times. But he was a talented son of a gun and very, very skilled. And his voice is so distinctive. So, it worked out. I think it worked out for everybody. At the end of the day, I can't think of who got screwed or who didn't get their share. What their slice of the pie was so minuscule that you couldn't even taste it. So, but WWE does a great job of backing up their stuff with their accounting, and you know what you got, and you know where it came from, and so forth. So I'm that new system has helped monetize talent's careers and extend them in a positive way.
Well, there's no doubt. I do want to follow up about your feelings on Jesse because I know we've talked before that you had hard feelings for Jesse when you guys were in WCW, but you've admitted in your books that, hey, that was probably misplaced. you were holding it against him that he was making more money when in reality he had just negotiated differently, and you grew out of that. But now you're saying that, hey, personality wise, you guys probably weren't ever going to be best friends, right?
Probably.
Yeah,
Respect is there.
sure.
I enjoyed working with him, but we never had Christmas dinner together.
Right.
But who gives a shit? What does it matter? So I he had a lot of talent. It still does, I'm sure. But he can be difficult to work with. There's no doubt about that. Ask anybody that's worked with him; they'll tell you that he's a little challenging at times.
Well, I'll tell you what's never challenging, and that's reaching for that all-purpose seasoning from jrsbbq.com. You've heard me brag about it for years, and if you haven't tried it yet, what are you waiting for? They got something for everybody at JR's BBQ, and it costs nothing to look. Isn't that right, Jim?
No, it costs a damn thing, Conrad. Nothing. It's $3.98 to look. It's a good deal.
Go check it out, jrsbbq.com. Another good deal over the weekend. MJF and Alicia got married, and people were having a little fun with this online.
Who did he marry?
Alicia Atout, who has been a backstage interviewer with WWE, actually, I'm sorry, with AEW. She was actually around for our very first Starcast and All In weekend. And I think in an effort to promote some of those appearances, that was one of their first on cameras. But allegedly, this was a star-studded affair. You see Tony Khan right in the middle. I think that's MJF on the left and MJF's dad on the right. And if you scoot all the way to the left, you'll see a whole cast of characters from AEW. Hangman Adam Page, I think that's Hook in the background, Prince Nana, Tony Schiavone, Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford. Over on the right on his tiptoes, you can see Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and in the background, Max Caster and Karen Jarrett in the front. And I mean, it's a who's who here. And these sort of pictures, once upon a time, would never be public. I know there's been some pictures of one of Rick's weddings. I guess it was to Beth, maybe his second marriage, that has come out in recent years. But a lot of fans don't expect to see this sort of thing, but in a social media age, they do.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of fun too, that where we see these photos, the last thing we expect is MJF showing up on Collision to ruin the main event with Takeshita and Mark Briscoe. They didn't just jump on the honeymoon train immediately. He's back to work. And it's kind of fun because a popular Twitter personality, a friend of the show, Trevor Dame, tweeted out, Bill Watts is about to fine Max and Hangman Adam Page for exposing the business. And Tony Khan saw this tweet and said, Alicia is a great person, and the fan favorites came to support her on her big night. I love that because that is a Bill Watts explanation. The business has changed though. Like,
correct.
Yeah, that's not a thing anymore, right?
No, not at all. Not in the least. So, and back in that era where Cowboy was at his height, that all was applicable seemingly. I'm not agreeing with it, but it was applicable. Times have changed. And, so congratulations. I didn't know they got married. I keep to myself.
Well, good for you. Hey, I want to ask you about Bill Watts because I'm fascinated with his philosophies back in the day. Can you give us some more memorable examples of explanations and how he would try to explain away some things? Because I know that, he was protecting the business in a different way in the 80s. I mean, in 1987, when Hacksaw Jim Duggan gets arrested with Iron Sheik, man, that's big news all over wrestling. You shouldn't have, not even for marijuana. Yes, that's a big deal because it's illegal in 87, but you had a baby face and a heel who were feuding the American hero and this mean, nasty foreign star. So it's hard for people to wrap their head around that today. But way back when, were some, because I've heard allegedly Bill Watts, if you lost a bar fight, your ass is fired. Can you give us other examples like that?
Well, that's all true. It kept guys out of the bars. It kept guys from being so rowdy or getting so inebriated that they had a false sense of security and courage. Bill was big on being timely, being he didn't like people being late for work, and I don't blame him. That's a big pet peeve of mine as well. Guys showing up when they want. It just it just doesn't make any sense. But he had a lot of old school values that were rooted in tradition and so forth. So a picture like the nice picture there that you showed of MJF's wedding. I was wondering, I have misplaced my invitations. I'm being smart ass. I'd like to have gone to the wedding. I would have probably gone, but my ability to travel, and here in the last several months, has been affected through the surgeries of my hips and things like that. So, but I'm happy for them. I congratulate them. She's got her hands full with that little lad. But he's a talented son of a gun. There's no doubt about it.
Well, we're happy for them both. I'm thrilled that they found each other through wrestling. It's another great wrestling couple story that wrestling brought them together. I did want to circle back on the Bill Watts thing, though. We've all heard that story that, hey, if you lose a fight to a non-wrestler, you're fired. Did anyone ever actually get fired, as best you can recall?
No, they fought their ass off, and so not that I can ever recall. I think if guys backed away from a fight or didn't stand up to their own principles, there were some situations like that. I believe I can recall that made it a little tough because he liked tough guys, and he liked for you standing up for the business. And to me, all those things are crucial. They're vital. They're important to honor the business and represent it the way it's supposed to be represented. And he was big in that area, real big.
There's a rumor out there that once upon a time, Bill Watts fired Bob Orton Jr. And as the story goes, I guess Bob was in a fight. And when he showed up to the matches, he didn't have any damage on his knuckles, and maybe Watts fired him. But I guess the lore in the business was that Bob had knocked the guy out with one shot and was fired unjustly. But years later, Jim Duggan did a shoot interview and said it was actually Paul Orndorff who got fired, but it was a fight where Paul was outnumbered and it was like 5-on-1 or something crazy. Is any of that real that you can recall? Does any of that jog a memory for you? Or do you think this is all rumor and innuendo through the years?
No, I think it happened to a certain extent, without a question. Cowboy had his principles, man, and nobody was excluded. He ran the locker room like a football team. You're productive and you work hard and you come to work on time. You're going to be okay. But deviating from that course is probably not good for future earnings.
Well, it's great for us and it's great for you. If you go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now at grillingjr.com. We are winding things down at JR's place in Jacksonville Beach, and it is for sale. If you're looking to live on the beach in Jacksonville Beach, go look for condos there. And
did you see the video?
I saw the photos of your listing, if that's what you mean.
We got a video out now. It's kind of cool.
Jim, I had a lot of fun hanging out with you today. We hope you guys will join us next week. Go hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications bell. That's grillingjr.com.
Appreciate you guys joining us. You're a big part of my life. You're always a big part of my week. I enjoy and love working with Conrad and good old Bull Ramus. And I appreciate your support, everybody. It means a lot. And in the last year or so, where I've been ill and trying to fight back from underneath, as they say in wrestling, it's been very, very important, very vital to me. And I appreciate all you guys for joining us every week. And it's become a major part of my life and a good part of my life. So I thank you very much for your support, and we celebrate you, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you right here next week.
So long, everybody.